If you're a high performer dealing with gut issues, constipation, diarrhea, bloating, reflux, this isn't just uncomfortable. It's the hidden biological constraint that is destroying your performance at work and it's draining your energy at home. Today, I'm breaking down why it's crucial as a high performing professional to focus on your gut health if you're looking to perform, look, and feel better. First, my name is Jorge. I'm an evidence-based health coach with a background in neuroscience. I'm the founder of Return to Human Health and Nutrition. Over the past 5 years, I've worked with busy professionals, founders, and executives to help them lose fat, fix their gut, and optimize their energy. When you reclaim your health, you show up as your highest self. So I'm going to start by talking about our poop. Nobody wants to talk about this, but it's especially important if you're somebody that's in a demanding career, you have a lot on your plate, you have lots of responsibilities and stress. Your gut cannot be another added stressor on top of everything else in your life. And we're mainly going to be focused on optimizing transit time. That means how quickly does food go from mouth to toilet. This is a key metric that you can optimize to start to make massive changes to your energy, focus, mental clarity, and gut issues themselves. So this is exactly what happens. You have food, you chew it, hopefully you chew it very well, it goes down through your esophagus, into your stomach, makes its way through your small intestine, large intestine, toilet bowl, right? Now, talk about your intestines. You have these little things here, if you can see, they're little bacteria. We're gonna picture these bacteria as being the gram-negative bacteria. These are some of the bacteria that have something on the outer layer called lipopolysaccharide endotoxin. What can happen when you have slow transit time? We'll define exactly what slow means in a second. Those bad guys hang around a lot longer in your intestines. Why is that important? Because that endotoxin, that lipopolysaccharide, can then cross through from your intestines into the bloodstream. You see this angry guy right here? That is an immune cell. That is a peripheral blood mononuclear cell. And what happens when that endotoxin crosses in is your immune cells of the blood do their job. They see a toxin in there and they sound the alarms. They start releasing cytokines like interleukin 6. And this can make its way all the way to the brain. Now, it can make its way everywhere else as well, leading to that inflammatory cascade all throughout your bloodstream. But what's most important to you is that focus, energy, mental clarity. So as that toxin makes its way into the bloodstream, it can signal all the way to your brain. And we have similar immune cells in our brain called microglia, and these become activated. Now, this activation, research has shown to be linked to what's called sickness behavior. This is essentially mimicking depression. This is low mood, low motivation, low energy levels, apathy, anhedonia. And so this is why it's so important to optimize your transit time, because all I drew here were the bacteria, but so many other things in our waste reabsorb into the bloodstream, and we'll talk about them here. You have less absorption of nutrients. So you might think, well, things sit around in here, they'll absorb more, but it's not the case with nutrients, because you also have waste here that is inhibiting the ability for your body to absorb important nutrients. One key nutrient is vitamin D. We need this for sleep, for hormone health, for testosterone levels. Number 2 is histamine. If this is a slow process, histamine, instead of getting released and excreted, it's now also going to get reabsorbed. Why does that matter? High histamine levels are linked to allergies, they're linked to anxiety, they're linked to poor sleep. Number 3 is estrogen. Estrogen is typically packaged through the liver into the waste so that it can be excreted when there's too much estrogen. What happens now, if all that waste sits around in your intestines, you get that reabsorption again. And research has shown that estrogen levels are higher in individuals who have slower transit time. And this matters because high estrogen is linked to low mood, insomnia. Number 4, we have heavy metals. Those are also detoxified in the liver and then packaged into the waste so they can be excreted. They can also be reabsorbed into circulation. Heavy metals are mitochondrial toxins. They are cancer promoters. We need to be excreting them quickly. Number 5 is this LPS and endotoxin that I just spoke about. So in addition to these 5, you have that low energy, brain fog, low mood, low motivation, poor sleep. Another name for slow transit time is constipation. So that is incredibly uncomfortable. So not only are you getting all of these other symptoms, you don't feel good. You feel heavy, you feel bloated all the time. You might have reflux that's associated with that. And so not only is this going to improve your focus mentally, your energy, your mental clarity, but this is also going to improve some of those gut symptoms that you might be experiencing. So how do we actually start optimizing transit time? Number 1, we want to think about tracking. You always want to track Otherwise, you're not really sure if you're improving or not. So we usually recommend two things. One is going to be your stool tracking. So this is 14 days of tracking your stools on the Bristol stool chart. This is from types 1 through 7, and you're going to note the consistency and the frequency. And you need to know before you start taking random probiotics or fiber supplements or antimicrobials if you're actually improving on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So tracking is number one. You also don't want to assume that just because you're having a bowel movement once a day, every single day, that your transit time is normal. So you still do want to check your bowel transit time, especially if you're someone who's already dealing with gut issues and is having some of that brain fog, fatigue, low motivation. We also want to track with bowel transit time. We actually want to understand roughly how quick are our bowels actually moving? How quick is that mouth to toilet bowl, basically? There are several food markers that you can use to actually assess bowel transit time. You can use corn, you can use quinoa, you can use black or white sesame seeds. You don't want to chew them too thoroughly. You want to make sure that you actually see them in your stool. And you're going to mark the time that you first consume those foods. That's number one. Number two is you want to mark the time that you see them first pop up in your stool. And number three is you want to mark the first stool that you see that has none of those food markers in it. So that's when you consume them, first sighting, and clearance. Dr. Jason Horlak is a clinician and gut microbiome researcher. Him and several other researchers actually suggest that that optimal time window should be between 14 to 24 hours from when you first see the food appear in your stool. Now, the clearance should be around 36 hours. I should note as well that there's a huge range for what's considered healthy bowel movement frequency, how often you're actually going number two. And it ranges from as little as 3 times a week up to 3 times a day, right? And so all of that is considered to be healthy. Of course, what is considered healthy in the medical system just means no disease yet. And so we don't want no disease. We want health. And that's very different. So optimal, several gut microbiome researchers suggest that optimal bowel movement frequency is actually 2 to 3 times per day. Number two, this is Dr. Jason Horlak's framework, but he calls it FEF+. And so that is fluids, drink half your body weight in ounces of water per day. A 200-pound man is going to drink 100 ounces of water at least. Add 15 ounces for every hour of exercise that you sweat quite a bit. Then the E stands for exercise. So even something as low as 20 minutes of low intensity exercise, walking, can stimulate the gastrocolic reflex to actually get your bowels moving. And really just 2 hours of moderate intensity exercise per week have also been shown to improve transit time. The other F stands for fiber and fruit. So if you're particularly leaning more towards that constipation end of the spectrum, we want to lean more towards those laxative fruits. So these are things like kiwis, red and purple dragon fruits, mangoes, and prunes. In terms of the fiber, you're typically looking to get these mostly from the fruits. Why? Well, evolutionarily, it makes sense. Fruits want their seeds dispersed as quickly as possible, and so our transit time when we consume them are pretty fast. They go through us very quickly. Now, if you're somebody who's not really responding super well to adding a bunch of beans, chickpeas, like really high fiber foods into your diet, then you might consider including things like ground flax seeds. Those have been shown to improve transit time as well, improve stool consistency and frequency. If that's something you're not tolerating very well, you can consider adding PHGG. This is partially hydrolyzed guar gum. This is a mostly soluble fiber that is very well tolerated even in people who don't typically do well with tons of fiber. Now, this video is of course made more for people who lean more towards the constipated end of the spectrum, but if you're somebody who's dealing with diarrhea, that can also of course affect your performance. And so things like psyllium husk could be great as a binder to kind of slow things down. Taking Saccharomyces boulardii, which is a probiotic that can also be helpful. And then brat foods, so bananas, rice, applesauce, toast can all help to slow things down. The plus here just means make time to go to the bathroom. So oftentimes we're so busy we don't actually sit down to go to the bathroom. Make 10 minutes as soon as you wake up and drink some water to go to the bathroom. Just spend 10 minutes there without your phone. You're training your nervous system to actually associate that morning time with the bathroom again. And then of course, sleep and stress, super critical. If you're not sleeping enough, you're disrupting your gut microbiome. If you're overly stressed as well, you're not managing that well, also associated with gut-brain dysfunction. You're not really communicating well between your brain and your gut. So number three, we want to look at more advanced strategies. So these are things like probiotics, advanced testing, and the 5-step protocol, which I'm actually going to leave below here in the description. If FEF+, sleep stress, doesn't work for you. So probiotics, these are things like Bifidobacterium bb12, Bifidobacterium animalis DN173010, Lactobacillus reuteri DSM 17938, and Bifidobacterium lactis HN019. These have been shown to improve transit time, so to make it faster. So some advanced testing would be things like breath testing and the GI map, which is a DNA-based technology that uses PCR in order to sequence some of your microbiome and see exactly what's happening in terms of bacteria, viruses, fungi, intestinal health markers. How much inflammation do you have? How well are you digesting things like fats? How well are you producing digestive enzymes? But this can be a really great test to just understand what's actually going on inside your microbiome. Based on those results, you can start to curate a protocol, which is this 5-step protocol that keeps it very simple. You go with rebalance. This is all the lifestyle pillars we just discussed. You go into rebuild, where this is where you're rebuilding some of that gut lining. You're lowering inflammation, so things like zinc carnosine, L-glutamine, marshmallow root, curcumin, quercetin. Then you go into phase 3, which is replace. These are things like digestive enzymes and beta-E and HCl. Number 4, if needed, highly recommend against this phase because you're essentially taking a natural antibiotic. This is the remove phase. So you're taking things like oregano oil, allicin, garlic oil, berberine to try to kill some of the bad gut bacteria. The only thing is they don't discriminate, so they also will kill some of those good gut bacteria as well. Number 5, this is the reinoculation phase. This is strain-specific probiotics that I mentioned earlier that can help to support the rebuilding of that gut microbial community. So look, most high performers, high achieving people, they're optimizing their sleep, their stress, they're training a ton, they're eating clean. But if you're still dealing with those issues, you need to be looking at transit time because it's one of the things that held me back for so long. Even being someone who was an athlete for 10 plus years, who was a health coach myself, I was still dealing with some of these issues. And it wasn't until I started to optimize these things that things started to move. I started to get my energy back. I got my sleep back. I had insomnia for 10 years. So this is a very, very powerful thing that you can start to implement right away. So look, this video covers one piece of the puzzle. This is one tiny thing that we do inside of our program. If you are looking to optimize fat loss, energy, gut health, I'm going to leave a link down below where you can book your free health strategy call. This isn't a sales call. This is where we get to know exactly what you've tried in the past, review relevant lab tests, and really you come away with a 90-day action plan, whether we decide to work together or not. So please leave a like and comment if you found this to be helpful.